People say that you shouldn't bury your thoughts, feelings, urges, and emotions, but why? What does psychology actually say about suppressing all of these things? I want to explore these questions. Does it work, and what can cause it not to work, and should we use suppression at all? Okay, so first off, what even is suppression? The American Psychology Association, APA, defines it as a conscious effort to put disturbing thoughts and experiences out of mind, or to control and inhibit the expression of unacceptable impulses and feelings. And I thought I might as well also mention repression, which is often associated with suppression, but repression has two main differences. One difference is that repression is done unconsciously, so no effort is needed for it to occur, while suppression requires an active effort. The other difference is that a person is not aware that repression is occurring, at least not initially. While suppression can be handled by your unconscious mind under certain circumstances, an effort still must be made to begin suppressing. But both suppression and repression are a way our minds are able to bury unwanted thoughts, feelings, and impulses and keep them out of our minds. Both suppression and repression are a way our minds are able to bury unwanted thoughts, feelings, impulses, and emotions and keep them out of our minds. Okay, so does suppression even work to begin with? The answer to that is kind of. So to elaborate on this, we should first look at a study called The Paradoxical Effects of Thought Suppression, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 1987. This study had participants split into two groups. The first group was labeled expression and were told to think about a white bear. The second group was labeled suppression and had participants suppress thoughts about a white bear. Both groups of participants were given a bell and told to ring it whenever they thought about the white bear. Afterwards, they then had the suppression group's participants actively think about the white bear and told the expression group to now suppress thoughts about the white bear. Like before, researchers then had participants ring the bell whenever they thought about the white bear. So, what were the results at the end of the experiment? The data showed that participants in the suppression group initially thought about the white bear less when compared to those who were in the expression group. Which, makes sense. They were actively trying to suppress any thoughts about the white bear. But something interesting happened. During the second phase, when the suppression group was told to think about the white bear, this group ended up thinking about the white bear more and for longer amounts of time when compared to the initial expression group. This is because of the rebound effect. It can also be called an ironic rebound. The reason it's ironic is because the more you try to suppress the thought, the more it comes back. Alright, so what does this all mean? Basically, if someone suppresses a thought, they'll initially have a decrease in the amount of times the thought comes to mind, but then after they stop actively suppressing the thought, they're likely to have the unwanted thought more than if they didn't suppress it at all. That being said, when a person initially suppresses a thought, it should work. The unwanted thought should pop up less while it's actively being suppressed. A real-world example the researchers provided is when trying to quit smoking cigarettes. If a person suppresses the urge and thoughts of wanting to smoke, they're likely to be successful in abstaining. But after some time, they're likely to experience the rebound effect, which may then trigger them to relapse and begin smoking again, only for them to be able to suppress the urge again, for a time, only to again trigger the rebound effect, causing a cycle of quitting and relapsing. Alright, so now we know you can use suppression for a time, but afterwards may be hit with the rebound effect. So, when are we most likely to experience the rebound effect? We're most likely to experience the rebound effect when under stress, while experiencing a high mental load, and when under a strict time constraint. The World Health Organization defines stress as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. Mental load can also be called cognitive load and is defined by the APA as the relative demand imposed by a particular task in terms of mental resources required. Also, kind of off topic, but does anyone else think about it like an owl or like Doctor Who whenever they read like World Health Organization or the abbreviation, which is obviously WHO? I've just always thought about owls or the Doctor whenever I read it. Alright, so now let's get back to suppression. While suppression is not likely to help you deal with your problems in the long term, it may help you deal with the situations in the short term. So if you want the highest chance for suppression to work and to not trigger the rebound effect, keep these in mind. Try to stop your mind from wandering to topics relating to the suppressed thought. Try to lower your stress levels while not having your mind be cluttered with thoughts and overwhelmed, which I know is kind of a huge thing to ask and recommend. And last, try to make it so suppression becomes automatic. If the suppression's automatic, it means it doesn't come to your conscious mind, because your unconscious mind is handling the suppression of the thought. When your unconscious mind is dealing with the suppression, it becomes something you no longer need to think about, kind of like forming a habit, but for your thoughts. One way to make suppression automatic is by repeatedly discarding unwanted thoughts as soon as they pop into your mind. If you give the thought no time to wander around in your mind, or like a mind palace, and instead immediately shut it down, the suppression of these unwanted thoughts or urges may transfer from being done by your conscious mind to your unconscious mind. The largest benefit for this is that if something's being suppressed by your unconscious mind, it has a lower chance of leading to the rebound effect, which we've already talked about. Okay, so now that we've discussed suppression and the rebound effect, let's get into repression in scenarios that can trigger the repression of negative thoughts and memories in a natural way that you're not actually trying to do or think about, because if it's repression, it inherently means you aren't aware of it. In the study, Repressive Coping, Distraction Using Pleasant Thoughts and Memories, which was also published in the Journal of Personality and Psychology, This study had groups of people either watch a movie they considered neutral or a movie they refer to as unpleasant. Then they had each group think about a sad memory or a happy memory. And they found something really interesting. What they found was that people who watched the unpleasant film had a much easier time recalling positive, happy memories and a more difficult time thinking about negative memories when compared to those who watched a film the researchers deemed neutral. So, finally, how is this relevant to you? It's simple. Next time you're feeling down, maybe after a bad breakup, put on a sad movie, eat some ice cream, and cry as much as you need. Something like this.
I'm never gonna lose you again.
You couldn't. You're a part of me. I love you.
Liar!
This could be exactly what you need to lift your spirits and think of the good times instead of the bad. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe and leave a like, and comment on psychology topics you'd be interested in learning about in the future. And most of all, I hope you can understand yourself and those around you at least a little bit better.